Hello, welcome to the match reaction video here on Latte Firm. It is Thursday, the 31st of July, and Arsenal have been beaten in our first ever overseas North London derby, defeat in Hong Kong for the Gunners. We're going to look back at today's game, the goal, individual performances, playing style, new set pieces, all that sort of jazz. And I'm delighted to be joined by my friend Laura Kirk. Welcome to the firm, Laura. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, FK. Thank you for having me. It's been a delight watching you grind away all summer, producing just some outstanding shows. So it's a joy to be here.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Daily Grind has been a lot of good fun, and it's the viewers and the guests who make it all good fun. So, Laura, thank you for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it. I've had 12 hours buried in spreadsheets. And of course, I couldn't watch the entire game because I've been at work today, but I did catch most of it, seen all the highlights, seen all the footage. And I was just saying to you before coming on air, the highlight of my day was my eggs, cheese, and beans on toast.
Look, I think that you could have worse highlights. I really think a food-based highlight of the day, if you've had your head in VLOOKUPs and you know all the rests, I think that's a real highlight. Are you a VLOOKUP guy, or are you a
pivot tables, lookups,
pivot
the
tables?
works?
Yeah, VLOOKUPs.
Yeah, the works.
Yeah.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done. Well, welcome one and all to tonight's show. We are going to look back in the game, look back at our two debutants, look at the problem in midfield. Have old habits started to creep back in after two lovely wins in Singapore? And get involved in the chat. And the chat, I'd love to see that sort of active tonight. We'll come to as many comments as we can. But Laura, just before we dive into the content and the slides as we normally do, North London derby this time of year overseas. What do you make of it?
I mean, I think I actually have to say I think it is genuinely really, really nice that that side of the world, that fan base, can experience a North London derby. I think international fans are often sort of thought about, like, we just give them a little bit of pre-season, etc. But they contribute a huge amount to this fan base, a huge amount of money, huge amount of commercial deals are done because of the size of that fan base. Is it the same? I can't really say because I wasn't there, but the atmosphere looked amazing, and I actually think it's quite a nice thing to do. Whether I'd want it to be a frequent thing, but actually having there's something about having a proper pre-season game that's not just Man United, Bournemouth, or Arsenal playing Milan. Like I think I have to say I think it's quite nice. That's just maybe I'm just being a bit lovey-dovey, but I think it's really nice for the fan base, who are incredibly dedicated, getting up all times of the night to watch the team. They get to see a North London derby in the flesh, and I think for a lot of people that is the highlight of the year, is the North London derby.
Yeah, listen, there was a lot of talk amongst the diehard Arsenal fans, the original, the OGs, that were sort of saying that, you know, North London derby, you can never have that overseas this time of year. You know, what nonsense is this? However, I agree with you. I think it's as a friendly game to have overseas. You know, we are a global sport, global club, gargantuan club with such a massive fan base. You saw that today in front of the 49,975 supporters in that record crowd at the stadium. The North London Forever rendition at the start was immensely powerful. Gunner Blog in his video, he was quite emotional in that, sort of watching that all happen. And it's a chance for them to get close to the players. And we've seen it, all the footage. You know, the fans are out and about on the streets and the shopping malls, you know, chatting to the players, taking videos of the players and giving them high fives and stuff. It's fantastic for them. But they will be back in London. I think they're flying back tomorrow or tonight even, arriving tomorrow to get back into the groove with a couple of friendlies now at the Emirates. And then, of course, the start of the Premier League, which is around the corner. Thank you very much to everybody who's joined. Do get involved in the chat. Let's head through to the slides. So listen, the match today, the North London derby, the first ever derby outside of the UK, was won by the enemy thanks to Pape Sarr's excellent long-range chip. Got to be complimentary about it. It was quite a finish, but there's lots of question marks that I have about David Raya and the positioning and what we were doing there. So let's start how we normally do by, first of all, let me just share the slides because that would be the obvious thing. Team news. I expected Mikel Arteta to go strong, and he did go strong. So David Raya in between the sticks, Ben White right back, Saliba, Kivior playing centre backs, no Calafiori, Gabriel Magalhaes, of course, both with Knox and Timber, of course, injured as well. We'll talk about them maybe towards the end of the show. Lewis Skelly playing left back. He was involved, of course, in that goal that we gave away today. Christian Norgard starting at the base, Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard starting alongside him, just ahead of him, with Saka on the right, Martinelli on the left, and Kai Havertz up top. And the bench, No Kepa, picking up a bit of a niggle before the game, but Setford was there, a couple of youngsters, Mosquera, who came on as a sub, Zinchenko, Zubimendi, who came on as a second half sub as well, Marino, a few other names that you guys will all recognise, as well as Victor Gyökeres. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And we'll talk about the debutants later as well. Spurs lineup, Thomas Frank, Laura, his first North London derby. Sorry, I forgot the other hand. North London derby. And I got to say, I thought Spurs played pretty well, actually, and it's going to be quite annoying because I quite like Thomas Frank. Their lineup, missing Kulusevski, missing Madison, of course, who was on the bench. Son was on the bench, one or two others. So they were pretty decent. Mohamed Kudus, obviously starting his first North London derby. What did you make of the lineups? What sort of game were you expecting?
I mean, from the lineup that we've got, I was expecting Arsenal to be, I think, just a little bit better than they were. We've obviously gone quite strong with Zubimendi to probably come on later, etc. So I was expecting, I just think from this lineup for them to be a bit more up for it. And that's not to take away from Spurs, because I actually annoyingly thought Spurs were pretty good. They had lots of chances in that. There was a section in the first half, certainly, where we could not get out of our half. They hit the bar a couple of times, hit the post. I think they are going to be quite annoying this season. I think Thomas Frank is not an idiot, which is annoying. But certainly I think they looked like they were playing in a derby and we looked like we were playing in a pre-season friendly, which, I don't, ultimately we're there to experiment, we're there to kind of embed the team, but it is still a derby. So I just, from the offset, I think Spurs, despite leaving, the likes of Son on the bench and things, I thought they were pretty good and we looked a little bit rattled in that first half.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought Spurs started well, which is surprising because I thought we played pretty well in the two Singapore games that we had. But of course, the game did finish 1-0 to Spurs. It's not something that we hear that often, defeat in Hong Kong. Here's the match stats courtesy of Canon Stats, which you guys can get on socials after pretty much every game. So 1-0 the scoreline. Expected goals, obviously being better than Spurs. We've been here before, haven't we, Laura? 15 shots on goal for Arsenal, but only one on target. That is dire. We'll talk about our build-up play in just a second. 9 shots from open play. I've seen that over the first couple of games in Singapore, that we're starting to shoot more on sight. I don't know if it's a deliberate instruction from Mikel Arteta. We're moving the ball quicker. We're getting it up to that final third quicker, and we're getting our shots out, including from the skipper, who's finally got his shooting boots on. Possession-wise, 55% to 44%. We completed more passes. We are the field tilt champions. We had many more final third entries, but for whatever reason, we just could not penetrate and go through the central zones, which we'll come on to. When you see the stats like this on screen, the other one that stands out, dribbles, 17 dribbles, but only 3 were successful. That's pretty bad. When you see that we've sort of bossed every stat in the book, sometimes it's as simple as saying, get the ball up to the centre forward and get the ball into the back of the net. Like everything else, all the other stats are just so complimentary, but we can't do the one thing that really matters.
Yeah, this, I think, there was quite a lot of people losing their minds on social media, and I do sympathise, because I think you could have copied and pasted this from quite a few games last season, and obviously what you're hoping to see during pre-season, particularly with all the new personnel, is that we are at least doing things differently. This looks very much the same. Now, I think people are saying it in the chat already, and I know we're going to talk about penetration through the middle, we also don't seem to be able to beat a man on the wings, which I think is really, really problematic, because it just means that teams can happily sit back in that low block and be like, crack on, you're not going to dribble past us. And I wonder whether the attempted dribbles, I don't know what that stat is, but whether it's just actually it's the wrong players trying, the skill is not there, the confidence is not there as well. I think it's the type of thing that you'll see players try it once or twice in a game and then it not work, they won't try it again. But certainly I was trying not to crash out, as the kids say, after this game, but it did feel a little bit like, here we go again. Lots of possession, but not particularly meaningful possession. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration is amongst the fan base. Is we've got new personnel, we've got a striker finally, although he only came on in the last 15 minutes. This shouldn't be happening. There's something amiss here.
Yeah, listen, we're going to talk about Noni Madueke and the sort of impact he might have. And of course, one or two other players not with the squad today. And defensively, we're very different sort of lineup. You could argue that Gabriel Magalhaes and Timber are, half of the starting defense. So when you're missing those two in a big game like this, or a big fixture like this, rather, you are going to miss them. Let's just talk about the wingers very quickly before we start talking about pass networks and our sort of build-up play. Bukayo Saka, since his injury, I don't want to be that guy, but I've kind of hinted over the last couple of months on this channel on random shows that I'm not sure that he's 100% yet. I think that's quite clear. Like, he hasn't got those explosive bursts. Like, he looks like he doesn't want to sprint. Now, obviously, psychologically, when you've come back from such a significant injury, it's very, very challenging mentally to get back to where you want to be, just in case it goes again or you do something else. And obviously teams have always doubled up, tripled up on him. So he's having a tough time at the minute out there. When he's not scoring, he's really sort of struggling. That sounds really obvious. And Gabby Martinelli, weirdly, has scored more goals from open play than Bukayo Saka over the last sort of 3 years. But on that left-hand side, not really having much fun either. Is it a personnel issue, Laura? Do you think it's time that Arteta made some sort of tweaks to really help out our wide players? Because, that low, mid, stubborn block, we're struggling.
I think the problem is different with the two players. So I think with Saka, this is one of those occasions where some players will kind of like play themselves back into form. So just by pure resilience and keep on going at what they do well, it will eventually come back. I think with Martinelli, Martinelli has been a brilliant servant for this club. I just think he has a ceiling and he's reached it. I think with Saka, he, to me, seems like one of those players. He's incredibly competitive. He hates to lose. He has that little bit of kind of like sort of, I don't know, niggle in him that's just, he hates to lose. So I wonder whether a bit of competition, whether it is even from Madueke on that right wing, just to say, right, you need to up your level, because otherwise you're going to start on the bench. And I wonder whether this is the first time, particularly in the last 3 seasons, that he's faced any competition, has faced any scrutiny for his output. He does look stiff. He does look like he's still coming back from a serious injury. However, at some point you have to go, enough is enough. If it doesn't turn around quickly, you're going to be dropping to the bench. Now, whether we've got the right personnel to come in for that, I'm not sure. But I still think Saka just either needs to play himself back into form, or we need to kind of like give him that competition. Martinelli, I have to be honest, FK, I'm losing patience. I really am. I think we are at the level, and I think today for me screams out, we need new personnel. Trossard injured as well. I don't know whether that is somewhere that we look at where Madueke just starts on that left wing and off we go. At least give it a try. But Martinelli really frustrated me today.
Yeah, listen, and for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, we are not a sensational channel. We don't just throw out remarks like that. I think the Martinelli conversation's been simmering for some time, let's say. And of course, now that Leo Trossard is out, Madueke hasn't sort of been part of the squad. And when you lose fixtures like this, I know it's just a friendly, but it is a fixture against that lot. Simmering becomes boiling point. So Arteta has got some work to do, and maybe the answer is Noni Madueke. I'm just going to come to that super chat in just a second. Very, very grateful for that. We're going to talk about the goal, talk about the sort of passing networks, but I thought I'd bring the passing networks up before I get to this comment from Cade. Cade, first of all, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly, but thank you for your generous donation to the channel. It is greatly appreciated. Says, hi guys, great content as always, FK, thank you. I think it would be interesting to see Ødegaard on the left-hand side and Rice on the right-hand side. Feels like the dynamics would be better. Kate, that is an excellent point. Hold that thought for a second. I'm just going to go through these passing sort of networks. I don't know if you've seen them on online before, Laura, but again, courtesy of the brilliant Canon stats. And basically what it's showing on screen is the structure of the team and the sort of passing frequency between players. So the thicker the grey line, the more often the pass made, the bigger the circle, the more touches the player has. And you can see first half, second half breakdown. There is nothing centrally. We're comfortable playing the ball across the back four, comfortable trying to get it into Ødegaard. And then, of course, he's very rarely actually passing it forwards. I've got the pass map in just a second. We try and get the ball up that right channel up into Bukayo Saka. And then, of course, the ball favorably sort of comes back again. Like, it's that horseshoe. And that's why I sort of called it familiar sort of issues creeping in from stuff that we've seen in seasons gone by. And to Cade's point there about, we got to try something different. When you keep doing the same thing again and again, even as something as simple as maybe just shifting Ødegaard onto the other side and playing Declan Rice on the right, maybe that is an option. I mean, what do you make of that when you see it? That's got to be frustrating for you.
Yeah, I think this looks like if you lifted this and shifted this to a couple of seasons ago, this is when it really worked with Ødegaard, Bukayo Saka and Ben White in that little right-hand trio, and then we'd have a beautiful overlap from Ben White, and we were just cooking down that right-hand side. I think when you kind of reduce Bukayo Saka to maybe 7 out of 10, Ben White again is working his way back from injury. He's been in and out a little bit more than previous seasons, and then Ødegaard obviously coming back into form. That then reduces itself to sort of like a 5 out of 10 kind of on the right hand side, which you just think against a half decent team is nowhere near enough. And we keep banging our heads on this right hand side, doing exactly the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So I'm very much open to, well, let's see how that Rice, Bukayo Saka, Ben White works. Maybe Ødegaard would do something, would release Martinelli easier. I'm not sure, but looking at that, basically, I can feel the kind of like frustration at the Emirates of watching them pass it around the box. I've seen this so many times before. You said your head was buried in spreadsheets today. I think fan bases are buried in this horseshoe shape of passing because we've seen it so often.
And we have. It's frustrating. Lots of people talking about Zubimendi and the positive impact he's going to have on the team. And of course, he did come on in that second half and did look bright. Let's talk about the goal. Let's rip that plaster off. Really disappointing to concede, obviously, just before half time. But what a disappointing way to concede. Just in general. I mean, Laura, David Raya, towards the back end of last season, was playing with fire, sort of playing high up the pitch. And look, it's high risk, high reward. He's immense on the ball and he's a fantastic goalkeeper. But when you keep playing like that, at some point, every now and again, you're going to get caught out. And luckily for us, it was just a friendly, but there were a couple of wobbly moments in some big, big games last season. He's passed the ball into Miles Lewis-Skelly. Couple of things. Miles Lewis-Skelly actually turns away with the ball and gets into trouble and he's fouled. We'll talk about the foul in just a second. But if you watch the replays, David Raya's passed the ball and he just sort of stands there. And it's like, mate, look at where you've passed. Look at the pressure incoming on Miles Lewis-Skelly and just turn around and start walking back, mate, because you are so far out of goal. There is a question, Laura, about there being a foul on Miles Lewis-Skelly. I think it was Richarlison who came in from behind to nick the ball away. And then Sarr has an incredible finish. I mean, hate that lot all you want, hate all the players that you want, hate the fact that they've scored the goal, but to do that from that distance is quite phenomenal.
Yeah, it credit where it's due. It's a really good finish. I think it's a harder finish than I think it looks, actually, to be able to basically control it as well. He doesn't have that much time on the ball as well. He just basically obviously looks up, sees Raya halfway down the pitch and pings over his head. I don't know if Raya needs to be that far forward when he makes the pass. Like, I understand that we're trying to be aggressive and the pass is on, I think. The pass is on. It's definitely a foul. So I think in a Premier League game, it probably would have been chalked off. I think VAR might have brought it back. But I completely agree with you. The bit that I have the issue with is if you're passing it there, you need to be backpedaling as soon as you see that as soon as you sense that there is a bit of danger. Now, in my head, Raya's been lobbed 3 or 4 times. Certainly once in the Champions League, maybe once in, I can't specifically remember them, and I don't have the exact kind of like the how that actually happened, but I do wonder if it's just a very quick fix, which is if we're gonna play this high risk game, there are certain things that we can do to de-risk it. One of them is you literally giving the pass a bit quicker, so you're not basically halfway to the halfway line. And 2, once you've done it, just run backwards, because if that ball needs to come back to you, you've probably got Saliba there, you've probably got one of the other fullbacks there. If they need to take 2 passes to get back to the goalie, for me it was really frustrating. And I put on Twitter that I thought Raya was at fault because I think he is, and people lost their minds. People were like, it's not a fault, Miles Lewis-Skelly's at fault, it was a foul. I'm not saying he's a terrible goalie. I think it's high risk, high reward, and we paid the price for today, and it's fine in a pre-season friendly. But fast forward a couple of months, and this is costing us points, the reaction will be very different. I think we still need a little bit of just smarter decision making. Like I completely get it in a season friendly, in a preseason friendly. There's no real downside to it, but I don't want that creeping into this side that we play out from the back and we just do it regardless of whether it's on or not, and we're just a bit more sensible with it, especially like right before half time. Just a little bit of game management is what I'm after here.
Yeah, I think so. And the games that come to mind, Matata for Crystal Palace. I think it was at the Emirates when Raya played it out and he got chipped. And the signs are there. It's that sort of high risk, high reward. So you've got to pick your moments. And that wasn't the first time. And I think it was Thomas Frank, actually, the Brentford manager at the time, who was saying that we noticed that Raya plays quite high up. So we tried lobbing him 2 or 3 times. And then, of course, Thomas Frank's boy today, obviously, that must have been an instruction. Just going back to our struggle with mid-blocks, low blocks, did these two fix it? Now, Sami Mokbel of the BBC has broken today that the release clause that we were all talking about yesterday, expiring before the start of the Premier League season for Eberechi Eze, expires tomorrow. And Arsenal got to get motoring.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Right, so basically, Crystal Palace having a contract with Eberechi Eze that he can leave for a fixed fee of £68 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a little bit of ambiguity as to whether a purchasing club has to pay that all in one go up front, or you can pay a little bit up front and pay in sort of installments, right? The accountancy sort of treatment is very different. Let's not talk about that because of amortization. So 68 million quid. And that is basically, if you are to match that or dust off your £1 coin and offer 68 million and £1, Crystal Palace would have to accept it. And then, of course, you would go on and sign your player, providing he wants to move. If the release clause expires, that basically means that Arsenal and Crystal Palace have to negotiate, and Palace are free to say no. And that's basically how it works. Now, we thought it was going to expire middle of August. It actually expires tomorrow. But, irrespective of that, and chat are going wild, they're talking about Eze, and we absolutely, Cade says, clearly need Eze for those low blocks. And I think Madueke on the left will help too. But the question to you is, they are 2 very talented players, and they are both players. And we've done breakdowns of these players on the channel over the last few weeks where they love to shoot on sight. They love to take on their men, and they're creators. Eze, just outside the box, loves to thread that ball through and create big chances for his team. I think it was 11 big chances for Eze last season, 6 big chances created for Chelsea by Noni Madueke last season. It feels like this is the solution. Do you think so?
I do. And I think something that, I think it was Pythag, the excellent Pythag, who was on the channel a couple of weeks ago, talking about what Madueke offers. And I think he was doing a little comparison between Madueke when he's got the ball or when he receives the ball in comparison to Martinelli. And I think where Martinelli basically sort of takes it on his left foot, often will go straight to the kind of the touch line. Madueke tends to come in a little bit more inside. That gives us a bit more access. And therefore, I think that's just a different element that we do not have at the moment. So I think it's a shame that Madueke is not going to be ready straight away. I think Arteta said, or he's still a couple of weeks out. But certainly he offers something very different to Martinelli. And Eze, for me, it's just a no-brainer. Pay the money, Arsenal. Right, we'll all go and buy our Stanley mugs. We'll all go buy the new kit. What else do you need from us? Let's get that, however much it is now.
Yeah, indeed. It sounds like it's all kicking off where you are. Sirens going past your window and all sorts.
I live near Brixton, FK. What can I say?
There's always stuff going on.
Too hard, but
it's a cool place, cool part of London, though. Saeed says, "Can we get Eze and give them Arteta?" Come on, let's not turn on the gaffer. Waltz, welcome to the show. Says, hope you guys are good. Do check out his YouTube channel. Lots of interesting content there. I've just brought up while you were talking the open play the open play final third passes map. I'm trying to say that's a real mouthful. Again, courtesy of the brilliant Cannon stats. And again, you can see on screen, the blue ones are the successful passes, horseshoe, left to right, right to left. And the unsuccessful ones are the pink ones through the middle. And you would, of course, expect to be more successful going around the defense than going through it. But again, going back to these two, Eze and Madueke, and it's not just about today, it's about those games where your opposition are sort of stubborn, they sit back, they sit low, they just frustrate you, and you need players that can either run at a defender and go through the block, try and create something outside of the block with, nice passing to kind of break the lines that Odegaard just doesn't seem to do anymore these days, or you just shoot. Eze is the sort of guy that gets, I think, 3 shots per 90. Noni Madueke is like 2.6 shots per 90. Believe it or not, that's actually quite high compared to most players in most teams. So, they offer something very different, and hopefully that would be what we need for Arsenal's midfield. Now, talking of very different, a new corner routine. So my words, I can't even speak tonight. A new corner routine. Nico Yova gonna Nico Yova, basically. I mean, look, we're very well known for our threat from set pieces. We scored from 15 last season, as you know. Nico Yova, he had the sort of the artwork of him outside the ground as well. That's how happy the Arsenal fans were. Now, without the likes of Gabriel Magalhaes and one or two others, we didn't seem to have that sort of threat today. But did you see this on screen? Five
I did, and
five Arsenal players on the line.
What is going on here? Then obviously the camera pans to Nicholas Yover, and you're like, right, he's come up with a new routine. From memory, I can't actually remember what happened here, but
well, we didn't score. Let me tell you that much.
Well, we didn't score. Well, that's all you need to know. I think obviously towards the back end of last season, and actually throughout the season, teams had figured it out. So by all means, switch it up. But without the right personnel, it'll be interesting to see how. I don't know whether Gyökeres is in this one, whether we are aiming at him, whether we are still going for a kind of back post Gabriel bullet header. But look, I'm all for creativity. It just needs to work.
It does need to work, and this one didn't. And obviously, this was in the first half because Kai Havertz is just in that 6-yard area. But it's interesting to see. I mean, look, if you're going to try something, you may as well do it in pre-season. Yeah. Although actually, it'd be quite cool to start that in sort of Premier League games as well, just to kind of keep the opposition on their toes. I think everyone's used to us charging in from the back post, aren't they?
Yeah, they look like an NFL team ready for like a kickoff. It's very
really
bizarre.
Strange. Really strange. They tried it a couple of times. Didn't quite work. Maybe there's some fine tuning to do there from Nico Yova. We did, of course, concede from 14 set pieces last season, and we want to sort of dumb that down a little bit. But Spurs, just final word on them. They looked good under Thomas Frank. They hit the woodwork 2-3 times in that first half. They obviously scored. They did well, and it's quite sort of galling to admit, but under Thomas Frank, they are going to be a bit of a threat.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they can't get much worse than they were last year. It was kind of like a guaranteed 6 points. Thank you very much. Just through Postecoglou's sheer unwillingness to adapt his game plan to any team. I think they will be a lot harder. They will capitulate a lot less under Thomas Frank. I think they had a couple, certainly, games last year where you were just like, wow, this is just, it's embarrassing how you're playing. And I think he will probably be much better at getting the best out of the likes of Maddison, Son, if he stays, etc. So I think it's annoying, but I think they will be a lot better. I don't think they're, I think they're probably, challenging for those top 6, 7, 8 places. That's where I'd say they are, but they are going to be annoying. Maybe higher.
That'd be a big improvement for them from last season. Rory95 says Gabriel is injured and we barely score from corners. Says it all. And Neil, I'm dreading next season.
Neil,
come on, Neil. Come on, man.
Neil. Oh, Neil.
Come on,
man.
Let's bring your A game, buddy.
You've not kicked the ball yet properly.
Exactly.
It's fine. Everyone calm down.
Exactly. Calm. Decorum. Let's talk about our 2 new debutants today. First up, Christian Mosquera. I quite like the look of this lad. Sort of comes on, plays alongside William Saliba. Saliba obviously just showing him the ropes there, and really strange sort of frame, like high-shouldered, like head sort of buried in, but like physically very sort of imposing, and looked really calm and composed on the ball and like confident, like wanted to run out with the ball and played it and it released it quite nicely. This could be quite a smart signing from the club, Laura.
Yeah, I agree, and I also agree on his physique. I was thinking to myself, how does one get physique like this? How does one look so lean and yet so sort of stumpy at the same time? He's obviously young. He's obviously like very keen to not just be a passenger or not just kind of like play his part. Like, as you said, he was quite keen to bring the ball out, not just kind of do the bare minimum of, not conceding a goal. And I think, as you said, a smart signing will I imagine that he will play in cup games. I think we might see him a little bit more if Arteta decides to rotate a bit, especially if Gabriel is still kind of coming back from injury and things. So I think that's a really good signing. Perhaps kind of a bit of maybe an underdog in terms of signings I wasn't that excited for. Smart signing, but might be kind of ones that we really think actually that was a pretty good signing.
Yeah, and with the 3 that we're missing today, he's probably going to get more game time than we think this season. Let's talk about Victor Gyökeres, because rival fans have already started putting compilations together of his not 35 minutes, you Man United twats. It's came on in the 77th minute, had 6 minutes of injury time, had 2 touches of the ball, to be fair. Everyone was so excited. As soon as he appeared on the touchline, there was that sort of loud roar, and I was wondering, what's going on? What's going on? Is it Son or something that he's done something with fans, or was it actually the arrival of Victor Gyökeres? And it was the arrival of our Swede. Great to see him in Arsenal colours. What did you make of his cameo?
Well, I saw a tweet that said that he touched his hair more than he touched the ball, which made me laugh a lot.
So he's got the Odegaard DNA. I like it.
A little bit of this going on.
Of course.
Very hard to judge from 10 to 15 minutes. I think he had one touch of the ball where he actually laid it off, which I think was quite nice. That was
nice. And Zubimendi scuffed his shot, didn't he?
Yeah, maybe Zubimendi just wasn't expecting it. He just didn't expect it to come back to him, which suggests that there is a bit of a creator in there as well. What's so funny to me though is in the process of signing Victor Gyökeres, a lot of the kind of fans were saying, look, he's new to the Premier League, he might need a bit of time to bed in. And then it's where he's been on the pitch for 15 minutes, he's not scored yet. So I do think there is a little bit of patience needed, but I don't know how much you can judge from a 10-minute cameo. I think he'll come good. He was on the pitch for barely 10 minutes.
Yeah, you can't judge. And listen, I'm more gobsmacked that he's even played. He flew into Colney on that Friday, did all his medical stuff, flew out Saturday in Singapore, on the pitch in Singapore, being greeted with the fans, travels to Hong Kong.
He's jet lagged. Leave him alone. He's fine.
Exactly.
I think there was a really interesting interview with his agent who, talked about his sort of how sad and depressed he was as it was going on and how grumpy he was. Give him a little bit of time. He's just made what looks like his sort of dream move to an enormous club, a gargantuan club. Give him a bit of time. We'll worry about it in 3 months' time.
Indeed. Kate says, head up, Neil. We're winning a lot. That's the spirit. And talking of spirit, these 3 are going to be back very soon, according to the gaffer. They will be ready, he says. Jurrien Timber, Riccardo Calafiori, and Gabriel Magalhaes. I mean, it is so important, Laura, that these 3 are fit and ready to play this season, because all of them, I mean, Timber, we saw outstanding last season. Absolutely incredible. My player of the season, by the way. He was sensational. Unsung hero. Ricky, we know how talented he is. We know how gorgeous he is, but he just needs to stay fit. And Gabriel Magalhaes, man, warrior, beast, unbelievable. He's captain of the back line. But these 3, they've got to be available week in, week out. The fact that they were all missing today, really, really disappointing.
Yeah, and I think with Calafiori, I have seen some little rumblings about his availability and his injuries. Obviously, he had that serious injury, and he's still young, so he's still kind of managing what it's like to come back from a serious injury. Availability is the best ability. It's been frustrating, I think, because we know what player he is, and we saw glimpses of that at the back end of last season. But I think of all of them, Timber is absolutely essential. Absolutely essential that we have him. I think when Timber is on the pitch, I feel both safe, but I also feel excited, because I also think he offers that kind of attacking threat as well. Big Gabby, I mean, what more can you say? We need him. He is a leader. So I think Arteta said that they will be ready for the start of the season. But yeah, we've got to hope that Calafiori stays fit. You can't be that gorgeous and not play, I'm afraid. There's levels to this game.
Indeed. They all better start learning Old Trafford, because we need them ready at Old Trafford. Yeah, listen, really important that they're all sort of fit and ready to play. And of course, we've got big games coming up thick and fast. Mike Jones, will end on this, says, hated losing to Tottenham, and that's why we shouldn't allow games like this outside the season. So look, the headlines are going to read, Laura, that Arteta's project, phase 10, whatever it is, and Thomas Frank, day 1, kindergarten, whatever, he's got the win in the North London derby. On paper, it will show the first ever North London derby overseas. Arsenal have lost, and it's defeat and, trouble for Arteta. I've got to say, Mikel was very positive, very chirpy in his post-match press conference. But Do you sort of lose any sleep over today's result? Do you look into it too deep, or is it, old news tomorrow morning for you?
Joe, FK, I'm going to blow your mind, and I'm going to blow everyone's mind with this concept that you can both be annoyed about losing to Spurs, but at the same time, it not be the end of the world. Like those two can exist at the same time.
Logic, Laura, common sense. Gosh, this is a new concept.
You can be upset about losing to Spurs and also a bit annoyed that Spurs look quite good. You can be frustrated that we haven't immediately clicked into this winning team that we are so desperate for. But you can also say, actually, it's just a pre-season and that's it. And we can all go to... Basically, what I need everyone to do is go outside, squat down, touch some grass, have a deep breath. Yes, it's annoying to lose to Spurs, but it was a good goal. They played better than us. I'm sorry they did. And we're still bedding in lots of new personnel. We have some big problems to fix at the end of last year. That's not going to be done in a 3-game pre-season tour over the other side of the world. So I'm frustrated. I hate losing to Tottenham. It really filled me with quite a bit of rage, especially seeing them happy, seeing Richarlison, posting his man of the match thing. But I'm over it.
Did you see Gabriel Magalhaes's response?
Yes, I did. It was like, nothing says small club mentality than having a brag about your player of the match thing in a pre-season friendly. Like, grow up.
Honestly,
but
absolutely.
As I said, two concepts can exist. You can be annoyed, slightly worried, wanting Arsenal to address them, but it also be, right, this is pre-season, and those can just both exist at the same time.
Indeed. Well, there we are, ladies and gents, boys and girls. It's been a really fun show, actually. I was kind of, I wasn't really looking forward to this. Obviously, to see my chum Laura on screen, fantastic. But like, I've been buried in spreadsheets for like a day and a half.
Whenever I come on here and we've lost, I have a GIF and a little thing saved on my phone from when we lost to Aston Villa at home 2 seasons ago, and it's you opening up Latte Firm and going, why do we do this? Why are we doing this? And like, that's my benchmark for, are we gonna have fun tonight, or is FK gonna be sad? And if that's the low, it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Oh, appreciate that. Appreciate that, Laura. Well, listen, it's always hard to make content when results don't go your way, and of course it is to that lot. But thank you for everybody tuning in. Hundreds of you have watched live tonight on YouTube. I really appreciate it. Do drop the channel a follow if you are tuning in for the first time and you've enjoyed the content, because we are, I think, just under 100 away now from 25,000 subs. That would be an amazing milestone for Latte Firm. If you are new, also check out the Daily Grind shows. They are also available as podcasts on Apple and Spotify, etc. And if you are listening there, of course, please do leave us a kind review. We'll be back tomorrow. It's Friday, which means it's the late night lounge with Wayne and Yembele tomorrow night. So bring your snacks. Let's talk about everything Arsenal. And who knows, with the Eberechi Eze release clause being expired tomorrow, maybe there's going to be a madness. Who knows? Keep it Latte Firm, keep it Arsenal. Look after yourselves. Go into the Friday with a big spring in your step. Lots more transfer speculation to come. Into August we go. Until next time. Bye for now.